because he was one of the key figures in history to really put forth a challenging idea to what was normal. And a lot of his books are not even what they may appear to be to some people. Here we have a man who talks about philosophy, who talks about everyday human things. He just talks about things on a human level that many people didn't expect, and I think that's to be respected, because he brought something new to the table when people were starving, if you will, spiritually. Now, the Church of Satan teachings, they don't work for everybody. They may be interesting to some people. If the Church of Satan, the LaVeyan teachings, if those work for you, utilize that. Learn from that if you want. I should also mention that LaVeyan Satanism, one of the main reasons people see it as a joke is because LaVeyan Satanism uses Satan as a symbol, as an archetype, and nothing more, like a type of personal symbol for something else that they're trying to focus on. It doesn't take Satan literally, and a lot of people that do worship Satan as a real being will see LaVey as a joke, or if they worship other entities or just simply perceive things in a completely different manner, then there's going to be some distaste for that. But that's fine. Everyone has their preference. I'm not LaVeyan myself, but I can see why some people would wonder about that type of thing. Now, Luciferianism, which is what I am. I'm a Luciferian. Luciferianism, as I mentioned before, can differ greatly in what it means from person to person. And the primary thing I want to mention about Luciferianism is that Luciferianism does not mean you worship Lucifer. If you look at the idea of Lucifer as being a fallen angel going against God in heaven, then Luciferianism can mean to some people worship of Lucifer. To other people, Luciferianism can mean the simple admiration of that idea that someone can be as God, in a sense, like their own God. You see, everyone already is their own God. This is the thing that many people forget, is that they are their own God, and regardless of what path they choose, they can always accelerate their consciousness. In the same way anyone else claims to be able to do, some people will claim to be like, oh, well, I'm more psychic than so-and-so, or only some people can do this. Anyone can do anything. That's the nature of reality. Anyone can do anything if they put their mind and time and practice to it. With enough practice, you can get results. Air feeds the fire, again. Now, Luciferianism, to me, represents a complete and utter separation from the currents of existence that try to persuade people to think the way they do. That doesn't just go for religion either. That goes for people even in my personal life. Many people in my personal life, bother me because they will try to go out of their way to judge me and say, oh, well, you shouldn't do that, or oh, why are you still doing this? Things like that. And I'm just like, because I can and I want to. It's my desire to, and that's all I need. So for me, Luciferianism goes beyond spirituality. It goes into physicality and actually a way of living on an everyday level. I do what I desire, and I do not question myself. I do not question my abilities. I gain whatever I choose to, and I always have more to learn. I will continue to accelerate and learn on a energetic and personal level as well. But you see, for me, Luciferianism can mean a lot of things. Even, as I said, beyond the spiritual, beyond the physical. It can just simply be an emotion to me. That feeling of, I don't have to do this. I have a choice, no matter what the situation is. That's what Luciferianism brings for me. And a lot of people have recently been getting more curious about this. What is Luciferianism? Or some people will, I've seen people online and on other people's videos, on forums and such, where people explain Luciferianism. So people are like, wow, this really resonates with me. This really, fits with me. Why haven't I learned about this before? Well, there's not very much info out there about it. A lot of info about Luciferianism is simply, you know, it's rare. It's a very rare thing. In fact, I would like to take this moment to thank a very big inspiration for me, Michael Ford, for being such a adamant and inspirational figure for the Luciferian path, even though I myself, my own practices will differ in ways from Ford's, but they are very similar, and I enjoy his work thoroughly. And I'll explain more on his work in another video where I'll just dedicate it to that. But Luciferianism predominantly is unheard of. Most people will just see Satanist related sites. Just Satanism as given to the masses. Levian, there are a lot of other groups I can mention, I'm sure, but I won't go into those right now. So Luciferianism is sort of unheard of, and it's beginning to gain notoriety. It's beginning to gain attention. And I think the biggest mistake people make with hearing the word Luciferianism is that they assume that a Luciferian is someone who's trying to destroy other people. And I've seen a lot of oh my god, I can't even begin to mention how many conspiracy videos I have seen that talk about, oh, Luciferians are doing this to us because these are coming from Christian groups, people. These are coming from Christian-based conspiracy groups. Don't buy into that shit. Please, I'm begging you. Honestly, are you going to sit there and listen to this person who is honestly trying to claim they know what's best for you and trying to so-called save you from the media and all these so-called spiritualities that are trying to take over the world? Honestly, that's ridiculous. Think about it for a minute. If many Christian groups predominantly believe Lucifer is Satan, then when they're saying Luciferians are doing this, Satanists are doing this, they're saying they're the same thing. And as I explained earlier, Lucifer and Satan are definitely not the same thing. Lucifer has never once been used as a term for Satan in the Bible. Think about that for a minute. If people are trying to say Luciferians are doing things to try to so-called corrupt your soul, then you really are listening to someone who is not even acknowledged in what a Luciferian really is, or even what Lucifer really is. So please take this into serious account. It is not a joke. Anything that can act on your mind through propaganda in that way is a threat to you. You know, many Christian groups who may see this video potentially, I don't really give a shit that they're going to say, oh, well, we can make the same argument about the person making this video. The difference between the two is, I don't care if anyone listens to me or not. I really don't. I don't have a need to argue my point. I don't have a need to sit there and say, I know what's better for a person, because a person will always know what's better for themselves. And I respect that. Rather than trying to preach and comment on over 100 YouTube videos on something I don't like about the video, trying to claim some sort of conspiracy, some sort of satanic connection to the symbology of something that is just an expression of creative output on, say, a musical video, things like that. These people who are putting forth all these lies really need to take a look at themselves, because they do not even know what Lucifer is. They do not even know what their own religion is, probably. So how can they judge others if they cannot even understand why they are judging them to begin with? I'm sorry for getting sort of pissy there, but it just infuriates me seeing so many people being sold into this lie of Lucifer, it represents enslavement, Satan represents enslavement. Why would people see it this way, unless of course they're being propagated against? Quite literally, let me go into something before anyone says anything on that comment, because a lot of people will say, oh, well, the Bible tells me so, blah blah blah. Well, the Bible also tells you that in Eden, it says the serpent lied. It also says that Satan is the serpent. Well, it doesn't directly make this connection, it just says serpent. The serpent is said to have lied. Satan is compared to the serpent and is called the father of all lies, and that there's no truth to him. It says that in the fucking Bible. Now, it also says that if they ate the forbidden fruit, then they would die. This is the biggest proof that God lied to Adam and Eve. He lied to them. He said they would die if they eat the fruit. They didn't die. They knew the difference between good and evil. They realized they were naked. They realized who they were. Is there anything wrong with this? I don't think so. But it's presented in a negative light. The serpent has always been a symbol of divine wisdom. In Satanism and Luciferianism alike, they both present the serpent as a very sacred symbol. And it's not because we see the snake as anything evil. The snake represents power, it represents enlightenment, it represents freedom to think for yourself. Several Eastern traditions, such as Hinduism and Buddhism even, which are obviously not anything like Luciferianism or Satanism in direct practice, those traditions in the East, Buddhism, Hinduism, what have you, see the serpent as sacred and representing the kundalini life force which dwells at the base of the spine, and when awakened creates a feeling of bliss and moves through each chakra before reaching the top of the head. This is also the importance of the symbolism of the snake in Egypt, and with the pharaohs having a cobra coming out of the top of their head. Many of these pharaohs went through mystery schools to learn how to ascend this kundalini energy, which creates bliss. This energy can also be stimulated during altered states. It can also be stimulated through external stimuli, such as pain or emotions of great, really strong emotions. Things like that can stimulate this energy. It's called a serpent because of the way it feels. It's reminiscent of a serpent that coils and uncoils and slides and slithers. So you see, Eden goes back to the symbology of a serpent, telling man and woman that they can be as gods. Perhaps this actual literal meaning is simply that their own inner self, their own true energy was telling them, you can be as gods. You don't have to be slaves. And what happened? God said that the serpent lied when he didn't, because they knew the difference between good and evil. And God in turn cursed the serpent, which is essentially the effect Christianity has had on most of the populace. It has cursed the symbolism of the serpent as being unclean and foul and without anything divine, when it can be further from the truth. So the next time you see a serpent, realize that it's symbolic of an energy that's within you, in everybody. Whether you choose to respect this or not is up to you, and you will continue to experience life and learn from life regardless of your path. And now again, I've gone off subject somewhat from Luciferianism, but all is well. Let's see. I suppose the most important note on Luciferianism that I can give is that it is simply so independent that different Luciferians will experience it differently. And I know that's sort of a crappy way to describe it, because I really can't describe Luciferianism for you. It's different for everyone. And like I said before, these types of energies, these types of practices, they don't work for everybody. They may very well disagree with you based on past belief, based on past idea, and unless you are willing to stumble around in the dark a bit and experience whatever fears may surface, because fears will surface in you repeatedly, and they will continue to do so until you work past them. Only until recently did I get past most of my fears while doing ritualistic practice. So, and I had been practicing for a little over a year now, and only recently have I been able to get through a lot of stressful situations and fears that continue to pop up naturally. That's part of experiencing yourself as human. So, Luciferianism, it's not Satanism, just as Satan isn't Lucifer. People can see their energies the same, similar, what have you, but they are not the same tradition, they are not the same belief.